What does a woman really feel when the man she walked away from chooses not to follow? At first glance, it seems like a simple topic, something we've explored many times, especially from the male perspective. But there's a layer beneath it that often gets missed. A tension not just between two people, but between silence and expectation, pride and vulnerability, control and regret. In the past, I've made countless videos breaking down what men go through after a breakup, what they think, feel, fear. And while much of that resonates, it always came from a place I could understand, because I've lived it. But what about the woman who ends it? What about the one who walks away? What does she feel when her silence isn't met with desperation, but with your stillness? This isn't a video built on theory. It comes from something real. A moment I'll never forget, when a woman I once coached told me, "I left him because I thought he didn't care, but when he didn't reach out, I started wondering if I ever really mattered." She didn't want him back. Not exactly. But she wanted him to fight, to try, to bleed a little for her absence. And when he didn't, something inside her shifted. That shift, that quiet unraveling, is what we're going to explore. Because behind her silence isn't certainty, it's calculation. Behind her, calm, a storm she's not ready to name. And as we walk through the 5 stages of what she feels during no contact, you may begin to see her actions and your silence in an entirely new light. If this message already speaks to something deeper inside you, take a moment now, like the video and subscribe to Stoic Station. The journey begins here. Stage number 1, the silent war of egos. She walks away telling herself she's making the right choice. That detaching is power. That silence makes her strong. But even as she clings to that belief, there's a quieter thought running just beneath the surface. He's just mad. He'll come around. She doesn't say it out loud. She might not even admit it to herself. But it's there, in every glance at her phone, every time she checks your last scene, in the subtle hope that you're just licking your wounds before you come chasing after her. At first, she sees this distance as part of the ritual, the unspoken game that follows a breakup, the game where whoever reaches out first loses. So she waits, arms folded, walls up, pride intact. And somewhere in her mind, she imagines you doing the same, pacing, hurting, planning your next move. But you don't. And that changes everything. Because now, the silence she thought was strategic starts to feel heavy. The more days pass, the more uncertain she becomes. Still, she won't break the silence first, not because she doesn't want to, but because she can't bring herself to lose this battle she never wanted to fight in the first place. And neither do you, so nothing moves. You both sit in the same quiet war, an emotional stalemate fueled by pride, wrapped in restraint. Not healing, not growing, just existing in tension. She tells herself this is strength, but deep down she's waiting for your move, because in her world, you reaching out validates her choice. It softens the guilt. It proves she still matters. But you don't move. You stay still. And in doing so, your silence becomes louder than her justification and far more powerful than her pride ever expected. Stage number 2, the lie we tell ourselves. A few days pass. The silence lingers longer than she thought it would. It's still early enough to feel manageable, but just long enough to make her uneasy. There's a shift in her mind, subtle, quiet, but unmistakable. Doubt begins to whisper. She doesn't confront it directly. She doesn't let herself feel the full weight of uncertainty. Instead, she rewrites the story. He'll get over it in a week. He just needs space. That thought becomes her shield, not because it's true, but because it's comforting. So she starts tracking time. Day 3, nothing. Day 4, still quiet. Day 5. She scrolls past your name in her messages but doesn't click. Day 6. Maybe tomorrow. Surely by day 7 he'll break. Surely by then he'll miss me enough to say something. She doesn't call this waiting. She calls it patience. She doesn't call it fear. She calls it logic. But the truth is, it's not logic. It's a silent negotiation with her own vulnerability, a way to stay in control without admitting she's losing it. That's the lie, the one we all tell ourselves when we're too afraid to admit we're not the one holding the cards. Because deep down, she doesn't know if you'll reach out. She hopes you will, not just to hear from you, but to feel right about what she did. To know she still matters, that she still holds some gravity in your world. But each quiet day chips away at that illusion. We don't want the truth. We want a version of it that buys us time. And that's exactly what she's doing, buying time with false certainty, hoping that tomorrow will look different, that your silence today is just temporary, that her choice isn't beginning to feel like a mistake. She's still convincing herself she's in control. But control built on hope is the most fragile kind. And she just hasn't realized yet how close it is to breaking. Stage number 3. When silence feels like rejection. The first week ends. She thought it would be enough time for you to cool off, miss her, and reach out. But you don't. And the silence she once called strength now starts to echo in uncomfortable ways. It doesn't feel like power anymore. It feels like absence. And absence, when unexpected, turns calm into chaos. She tells herself not to care, but her actions betray her. She checks your last scene, replays old conversations, searching for signs she missed. Was there something you said that hinted this was easier for you than it was for her? Was she just a phase you outgrew? Suddenly, it's not just about the breakup anymore. It's about what your silence means, and more importantly, what it might confirm. Because when someone leaves, they expect noise, pleading, resistance, emotion. And when none of that comes, it starts to feel like they were never needed at all. That's where she is now, caught in that mental loop, wondering if you've already moved on, if you were simply waiting for her to leave so you could finally be free. She paces, unsure if she's angry at you for staying silent, or at herself for expecting something else. She thought letting go would give her closure. Instead, it's brought confusion, and worse, doubt. Did he ever really love me? Did he feel anything at all? Why isn't he chasing me? She's not waiting for a message anymore. She's demanding emotional proof. Proof that she still has weight in your world, that her absence is noticed, that she meant something. But you remain silent, not out of bitterness, not out of indifference, but because you're finally choosing peace over performance. And that's what cuts the deepest. You broke up with him, but now his silence feels louder than your goodbye. She didn't expect this, not from you. She thought you'd crumble, that you'd reach out just to keep her close, even if it hurt you. But you didn't. And in that stillness, she begins to feel something she hasn't truly felt since the moment she walked away. Powerless. Her anger isn't truly about you. It never was. It's about the image she held of herself when she was with you, the belief that she was unforgettable, irreplaceable, central to your emotional world. But now, you're not playing your part. You're not proving her right. And that contradiction, that's what hurts the most, because she thought she left a man who'd chase her. Instead, she's watching a man who let her go, without looking back. Stage number 4, the moment she feels left behind. This is where everything shifts, not through drama or confrontation, but through quiet clarity. It doesn't come all at once. It creeps in through the stillness. It begins with a pause, a breath, a thought she hadn't let herself fully feel until now. She wanted space. She told herself she needed it. That time apart would give her perspective, maybe even make you try harder. But what she got wasn't just space, it was distance. And not the kind that longs to be closed. The kind that feels final, unreached, untouched. She expected resistance, maybe even a little heartbreak from your end, some visible crack in your composure, some sign that you were hurting, but there's nothing. And for the first time, she doesn't just sense your silence, she feels your detachment. It's not cold, it's not cruel, but it's real, and that's what rattles her. You're not trying to prove anything, not fighting to fix it, not leaving breadcrumbs for her to find her way back. You're simply gone, present in your own world without her at the center of it. And that quiet acceptance, that still grounded energy, it shakes her more than any angry message or jealous outburst ever could. You walked away in your own way, not with words, not with revenge, but with peace. You didn't beg, you didn't flinch, you didn't crumble beneath the weight of her exit. And now, she's left with the part of the story she didn't see coming. She walked away thinking he'd chase her, but he walked too. And now she's the only one looking back. This isn't about ego anymore, it's about fear, not the fear of losing you to someone else, but the fear that she no longer holds a place in your heart. The fear that she's been replaced, not by another woman, but by your self-respect, by your growth, by the man you're becoming. And that realization, slow, honest and undeniable, becomes her first true moment of regret. Not because she wants you back, but because for the first time, she wonders if she ever really knew what she gave up. Stage number 5, when she's finally ready to let go. 3 weeks pass, maybe 4. She's done everything she could to pretend the silence didn't affect her. She told herself stories, replayed memories, wrestled with anger, and clung to pride. But now all of it feels heavy. She's tired. Tired of checking her phone only to see nothing. Tired of wondering whether she still crosses your mind. Tired of carrying the weight of a man who won't come back and won't chase her either. And in that exhaustion, something finally breaks open, not in despair, but in surrender. She stops trying to control the story, stops needing to be right, stops expecting the silence to change. And in that stillness, she begins to let go. There's no announcement, no dramatic shift, just a quiet release, a soft acceptance that maybe what's gone isn't coming back. And strangely, that thought doesn't feel cruel anymore. It feels necessary, calming even, because after all the anger, pride and fear, letting go becomes her peace. And that's when you show up. The name appears on her screen, unexpected, unscripted, undramatic, but it lands with more weight than anything she could have imagined weeks ago. Her heart doesn't race in panic. It stirs in reflection, not because she needs saving, but because silence has reshaped her. And now your message feels different. You didn't reach out when she needed proof. You reached out when you had nothing left to prove. That's what makes it real. And maybe for the first time, she sees it clearly. You're not chasing her. You're not trying to win her back. You're simply standing in the truth. You were never waiting. You were evolving. And now, your silence has done what words never could. Summary. But before you think she's mourning the relationship, understand something deeper. Love, as pure as we try to make it sound, is still laced with self-interest. She once told herself that love meant sacrifice, that it meant putting someone else first, even when it hurt. But love, real love, is rarely that pure. Because beneath the affection, the promises and the shared dreams, there's something more personal at work. Most of us don't love people solely for who they are. We love them for how they make us feel about ourselves. Safe, seen, desired, significant. And that's why losing someone cuts so deep. It's not just the absence of their presence, it's the absence of the version of ourselves we became when they were around. Their validation, their attention, their affection, all of it quietly shaped the identity we learned to rely on. You think you miss her for her sake, but most of what you feel is about you. She's no different. When she grieves after the breakup, she's not just mourning you. She's mourning who she felt like when she was with you, who she believed she was when your eyes were still on her, when your words still carried warmth, when your silence hadn't yet arrived. So the pain she feels now? It's not just about losing love. It's about losing the mirror she once used to see herself clearly. And now, without that reflection, she's forced to ask a harder question. Who am I when I'm no longer needed? And that question, who am I when I'm no longer needed, isn't just hers. It's ours. It's the question that silence reveals, that heartbreak unmasks, that growth demands we face. Because in the end, no contact isn't just about getting someone back. It's about getting yourself back. So if this message helped you see your own journey more clearly, like the video and subscribe to Stoic Station. This path isn't easy, but you don't have to walk it alone.